I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So,
You just launch my Python.
yeah, sure. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So, today we're going to be making a color game in Python. So, basically, it's kind of like a brain game. I'll show you an example. Basically, it's going to show up. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
See how the color of the word is different than the actual word? So it says black, but the font is in red.
Yeah.
You have to, for every word that shows up, you have to type in the color of the font. So if I type in red, that's correct. But if I type in yellow, even though it says yellow, the font is green. So if I type in yellow, it won't be right. So my score didn't increase. So we're basically doing a game like that today. Okay. And yeah, so we're going to be using something that's called tkinter. So we're going to first start by importing that. And you can just write import tkinter. Do you want to share your screen so I can just see where you are as we go through?
Okay.
Okay, cool. tkinter, yeah. And we're also going to use something, we're going to import random, and we'll use that a little bit later when we have to generate a random number. Okay, so once you have those two imported, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add all the different colors possible. So we're going to create a variable called colors and have that be a list of different colors. So it's going to be red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, pink, black, brown, and white. So those are going to be all our colors. And we want each of them to be in a string. I think you've got to add an ending quote before you put the comma. So like right after the E in purple.
Oh. Please.
Arithmetic error, okay. Oh, I think that might have just gotten copied there. And yellow, you have to have a W after the O, otherwise it won't realize it. Yeah, there you go.
Got
Pink, and then black, brown, and white. And don't forget the white has to be inside quotes. Yeah. Now that you have those, just enter to the next line, and then we're also going to create a variable for score, and we'll have that set to 0 initially. And finally, we want the game to be only for a set number of seconds, so we can just create a third variable called time left and have it equal to 30. So we're gonna create a GUI window. Have you ever used tkinter for like GUI before?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, so basically it's just a way to get GUI stands for graphical user interface. So it's just a way to display a new window where the user can interact or type things or click on stuff. So the way to create that, we're gonna write root is equal to tkinter dot tk, and the T is capital. TK, and then parentheses after that, yeah. And then we're also going to set the title. So the root has different attributes. It has like title, geometry, color, label, or like color geometry, and we'll go into that more. But first we're going to start by giving it a title. So we're going to do root.title.
Okay.
So, see? Oh, yeah?
I said okay.
Oh. So see how after the dot, like the second we put dot, there's a bunch of little stuff that come up. Those are just the attributes. So we're just going to choose title. And inside the title, we're going to have the two parentheses, and in quotes, we'll give it a name. We'll just call it color game. And we also want to set the size. So we're going to do that by doing root.geometry, another attribute. And in quotes, we're going to add the dimensions. For this one, we'll just make it 375 by 200. Okay, and the next thing that we're going to do is add an instructions label. And a label is basically just any text or box or anything that'll show up on the window that'll pop up. So we're going to add a label. So this can be our instructions label. And I was just adding a comment so that we know where we are. And we're going to call it instructions. Okay. And we're going to set that equal to tkinter label, because it's going to be a label. And we're going to have it, so see how we made root up here, tkinter.tk? Yeah, so we're going to have that go in here, so it tells us, or it tells the computer that it has to go in the root. And
Mouse, please.
right?
Can you move your mouse, please?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
And then we're going to have the text equal to, and we're going to write some text. And I think I have an extra letter or S after text. I think it should say TEXT. Yeah, there you go. And we're just going to type in, it's just prompting the user what to do. And then end the quote there, and then add a comma afterwards. Yes, okay. Okay. And then we're also going to set it to a certain font. There's a bunch of different fonts, just like on the regular like Word. They have like Times New Roman, Comic Sans. So we're going to use Comic Sans. And for this one, we need to have a parentheses before we actually type in what it is. So we'll do parentheses and Comic Sans. MS. That's just the font name. Yes, and then end the quote there, and then do a comma and write 10 because that's the size of our font. Okay, and then go on to the next line. Oh, I think yeah. Okay. And we also want to do instructions.pack. And pack is just a way of organizing widgets in rows or columns. So there's different types. There's either like pack or there's a few other ones, but this one for today we're going to use pack. And we're going to add some labels to that. That way the user can see things like score or time remaining. And so do you see how we assigned instructions to be a tkinter.label?
Yes.
Do you want to try doing the same for a label that's called score label?
Okay.
And yeah, and just have the text be press enter to start.
So am I supposed to type that up, or is that just a no?
Sorry, what was that?
Am I supposed to type that stuff up, or is that just a no?
What you can do is the same way that we did instructions, the same way we typed out this entire line, just do the same except change the name to be score label and update the text to have it say what we want it to say.
Okay.
And you can just paste it right below.
For some reason it's not copy pasting.
Oh, okay, that's okay. Then I guess we can just like retype the whole thing.
Okay, let me just try again.
If that's not working, you could try Command C and Command V. Oh, okay, it showed up. So go back into the name of the variable, like at the very start. Okay, and we want that to say score label instead of instructions. Score label. And yeah. And we're going to have the text updated to say what the actual score is. We're going to say press enter to start. And we'll keep the font the same. Yeah. And again, we want to do the same thing. We want to have, just like we had the instructions.pack, we want to do the same with score label. Okay, and then we're going to create, we have a few more labels, like 3, but this one we're going to add a time remaining label. So label, and we can just call it time label. Also, I think for back in instructions, you have to have it spelled Label, where you write tkinter.label. So just switch the L and the E.
Where? Oh, I see it.
Yeah. And then the same for score label. Where it says dot label right before the root. Oh, I think you got 2 E's in there. Okay. And then the same for time label. You would have a Label.
Time.
On the last line, like the one that we were just writing. Yeah. Okay. And do you want to try creating the label for this one? It's pretty similar. We just have to update the text.
Okay.
It's similar to the first 2 ones that we did.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Wait. For any of these?
So here what you would write is time inside the text you would write time remaining and then put a colon after. So inner label, and the same thing as before, root and text equal to, and we'll just write time remaining.
Do you know what happens when
try clicking on Google Chrome again, or wherever you're opening it up from.
there?
Okay.
Oh, never.
Click on or try minimizing your screen so that it's like.
I can't.
Oh, okay. Try stop sharing, just briefly.
So
Okay.
now,
And then, are you able to see it clearly once you open up the Google Meet page?
Yeah, but now I can't.
Are you okay? Try going into the Google Meet and resume sharing.
How do I do that? I can't go back into the Google Meet page.
Oh, it's just not even okay.
Screenshot, download, idle, Python launcher, Google Chrome terminal, system preferences, App Store, iTunes, news.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to try exiting and then rejoining again to see if that'll work?
Try to shut down my computer.
I don't think you need to shut it down, maybe, but
Let me just try.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. So, Hasa, are you able to get? Oh, okay.
Okay. Let me just find my Zoom now. I can't. There's like a bunch of tabs that opens up. Let me just delete all of those. I can't find my Python.
Can you share your screen again?
Okay.
Okay. Did you save the file?
I couldn't because it was like all blurry. So when I shut it down, I don't think it's saved.
Oh, okay. Maybe click back onto the Python shell, like the white page on the left.
You mean this?
Yeah. And say file.
It doesn't work, but okay.
Up in the left-hand corner. Open, or say recent files, maybe.
Recent. Oops.
Oh, okay. It looks like it didn't save it. I can just give you the code that we've done so far.
Okay. I'll make a one.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm just making a new.
Oh.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Can you see my screen, or?
1 second. There.
Okay, you're able to see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do is we have the time remaining, and don't forget to add a quote after the semicolon, or the
Wait,
colon, I mean.
the time remaining on the one I copy pasted. I only see up until score label, and I don't even see the full line for that.
Oh.
Like, can you see my?
Press enter to the start. Oh, I see. Okay. So create a new label and call it time remaining.
Wait, but did I do the full line for score label?
Press enter to start. After the comma, add font. So like add a comma and then type in font equals. And then in parentheses, right here, Comic Sans MS. MS and quote, and then comma, and then 10. And then 2 parentheses after that.
Wait, I need to make. And then I'll just copy paste this line over here. Time label, right?
Time. Yeah, time label. And then we're going to do similar to what we did for the first 2 labels. Oh, you might want to actually go ahead and save your code just in case, so that way you don't have to redo it.
What should I save it as?
I just called it colorgame.py. And I didn't have any. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, you can just go back straight into the code. That was just so that it would be saved.
Okay.
And so, do you remember how we created the label for the other 2?
Yes.
You can try copying pasting the same thing, and we'll just update the text. So like everything from tkinter all the way across after the equal sign for the previous label, and just paste that into here. Yeah, and the time label is gonna say time remaining. So text, and we'll have it say time remaining and a colon after that.
Wait, I'm sorry. I
Oh,
forgot.
inside the text. Like, so the part that you have selected where it says press enter, instead of that, we'll just have it say time remaining. And remember how we created the time left variable up at the top right here, and we set it to 30? Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're just going to concatenate that. So we'll use the plus sign.
Wait, I don't.
And,
Where are we?
right after time remaining. So right where we did the quote before the comma font. Yeah, so add a plus sign. And then we're going to add time left. But we want it to be a string. So, because time left is a number, right, when we declare it as a variable. But we want to cast it as a string. So we can do that by doing STR and then parentheses around the time left.
Wait, time left is in parentheses?
Mm-hmm. And we put STR right in front of it so that it treats it like a string. And then parentheses, time left. Yep. And then comma, font, and you already had the font. I'll just get myself caught up. Okay. And again, we want to do similar how we did score label.pack and instructions.pack. We're just going to do time label.pack. Oh, and don't forget it's LABEL. And in the line above, right after you say time label equals tkinter, I think you write time label twice. So you can just delete the second one in the line before. You see the previous line? It says time label twice right before, right in the line above pack. It says time label equals tkinter. So you can just delete, yeah. Mm-hmm. Time label dot pack. Okay, and then we're gonna add another label for displaying the colors. So we're gonna add another label that just says label and have it pretty much the same thing, tkinter dot label, and have it just say root and font equals Comic Sans MS, and we'll have that be 50.
Wait, I can't see.
Oh.
Oh wait, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so typer.
Oh no, you're fine. Don't worry about it. And don't forget to make this C, the first C in Comic Sans, capital. Perfect. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing, just have it say label.pack. Okay. And we're going to add an entry box for typing in the colors. So remember when I showed it the first time, there was a box where the user could type in each color as they saw it? Yeah, so that's going to be this box. So we'll just call it text box. And tkinter dot entry this time instead of label, because the user is going to be entering something. And the only thing we need to add is root inside the parentheses. And
Excuse me, why is this yellow box showing up? Excuse me? Why is this yellow box showing up?
I think that's just giving you the different options. So if you just navigate away from it, like if you just move your mouse or like, that's just more info about what the label widget does. It's just because you were near it, so.
But I don't want to.
If you start typing another line, I think it should go away.
Not.
Why is it not going away?
Maybe.
Try clicking, like double clicking on the entry. Like click on the text itself, like right here.
Oh.
Okay, it's gone. Okay. And if we try. tkinter.
Are you typing? Because if you are, I can't see it.
Okay, no, I was just checking something. So what we want to do is we're going to start creating functions, but before that, what we want to do is have the widget bind to something. So we're going to create a new command that says widget.bind. But instead of widget, we're going to have it say root because that's what we named the window up at the top. Root.bind, and yeah. And we want it to bind to a certain event. So for example, a certain key press is matched to a certain function that handles it. So in this case, it's going to be matched to the return button, which is like the enter button. And yeah. And the function that's going to be matched to it, we're going to write it in a second. It's going to be called start game. And we also want the text box to be packed, which is, as I said, just a way of organizing the different widgets on the screen. Dot, and then you have to, after the dot, it has to be, say pack. So I think you have an extra S between the X and the T for text box. I think it's like a line, like the last line that you wrote. So there's an extra S. Okay, text box dot, and then before the parentheses, you have to write dot pack. So right up here, dot pack. Yeah. Okay. And then we also want it to do something called focus set. So we're using another built-in tkinter function. So we're going to do textbox dot focus underscore set. And the underscore is just, I think if you shift and press the dash, it'll be, yeah, focus set, and then two parentheses after. And then we'll do root dot main loop. And what that does is it basically just starts the GUI. And you need to have parentheses, a set of parentheses after that. Perfect. Okay, so under where we have score is equal to 0 and time left is equal to 30, we're going to go back up there and create a function. And do you remember how to define functions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you know what keyword we have to use before the function name?
Define? Or def?
Def, yeah. So def. And we're going to have the function called start game. And we don't want a space between the start and the game. It just has to be one word. And it'll take in a certain event. And we want, if the time, do you remember the time left variable? If the time left is 30, we want to start a countdown function. And if not, we just want, once it's out of that loop, we want it to call another function called next color. Do you want to try doing the if statement? If the time is 30, we want it to call a function.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to do if. And then what variable should we use? We use time left, right? Because that's the one that we want to count down with. And then we're going to use 2 equal signs here because we're checking for equality. So 2 equal signs. And if time left is equal to 30, we're going to call a countdown function. And we'll just do that by doing countdown. And then we'll call a different function that we're going to write. For right now, we can just write a comment call function to choose next color. Okay. And now we're going to create the function to actually choose the next color. Do you know how we would start that? The function name will be called next color. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so we're going to start another function that's called next color. Do you want to put in the header for it? So kind of how we did here, except it's going to say next color, and it won't take in any variables. Or won't have any inputs.
Okay.
So we're going to start with DEF, right? And the function name is going to be called next color. Next color. And I think you have an extra S after the X on next color. Next color, yep. And we're going to create two global variables. And do you know what's the difference between global and local variables?
No.
Okay, so local variables are basically like they're used in one function, and once the function is over, they're out of scope and they can't be used anywhere else. But a global function is something that can be used anywhere in the program in any of the functions. So we're going to create two of those that can be used anywhere. And it's going to be called global score and global time left. And we're going to have an if statement. So we want to say if the game is still going on. What variable do you think we could use to find out if the game isn't over yet?
Maybe in the steps.
I think you broke up slightly. I couldn't hear what you said.
Maybe in maybe like if then statement.
So we're going to use if time left is greater than 0. Is greater than 0. We want to make the text box active, so we're going to write text box dot focus underscore set, like the same thing that we did a few lines ago. Set. And if the text box, what we want to do is convert it from uppercase to lowercase, so that way there's no issue of capitals or not capital when we want to decide if the word that they type in is correct. So we're going to do if textbox get, and that's a method, so it needs parentheses. If textbox get, and then after the parentheses there's going to be another dot, and then lower, and then parentheses. And we want to see if it's equal to the colors variable, like the colors list here. So do you think we're going to use 1 or 2 equal signs to compare them?
2.
2, yeah. So 2 equal signs, if that's equal to colors at the first one. So we're going to use the index 1. So whenever it's inside a square brackets, the number in there is our index. So if that dot lower, one dot lower, after the 1, we're going to do dot lower outside of the parentheses. Dot lower. And then colon after that. Like the 2 dots. 2 dots and then enter space. If that is true, then we're going to increase the score by 1. So how can we increase the score by 1? Remember how we have the score variable? We're going to increment that by 1, right? So we can use like
Score.
Hmm?
Is it score label or just score?
Just score. And to increment that, we're going to use plus equals. So that just adds 1 to the total. So we do plus equals 1. Okay. And so the plus equals, right, is the plus is different than like concatenation kind of plus. I think earlier we used the plus sign to concatenate here when we did time remaining. So just like a sort of reminder that the plus sign can be used either for concatenation or for adding. Does that kind of make sense, the difference between the two?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And then outside of the inside if statement, so still inside the bigger if statement, but just in line with this inner one. So just tab once more. Oh. Yeah, just after the +1, just press enter and then enter again. It's like enter, enter again. Okay, and then backspace once. Okay, so now you're in line with the if. We're going to clear the text entry box. So the text box delete. Box dot delete. And then we're going to add 0, tkinter dot end. And that tells it to clear it, basically. Tkinter dot end. And then in the next line, we're going to do random dot shuffle colors.
1 second.
Yeah. For colors. And so the reason we have that is, remember how we imported random? That's going to be used here. And what it does is it goes through the entire like array of colors up at the top that we defined, and it'll randomly go through them. So it won't necessarily go in this order that we listed them. It could start with like green or blue or any color, but it'll just choose it randomly. So we won't know the order. So every time it's different. That's what that does. And in the next line, we're also going to configure a label. So we're going to write label dot config right under where we did the random shuffle. And parentheses right after that. So we have inside the parentheses, we have a bunch of different attributes. So we want the foreground, and we're going to have that as FG is equal to, and we'll have it be equal to a string version of one of the elements in the colors array. So that just converts it to a string. And we want the text equal to a string version of the first index of the colors array. Yep. And so foreground is just, or FG is just a built-in option in tkinter for the foreground, which is the part closer to the users. So that's the text. So the text will be one color. Like the text will actually have a different word, but the color will be of a different item. So if it's like, if they display red on the screen, the color of the text will actually be orange or some other color. And so once we do that, we also have to update the score. So we're going to write score label .config, which is like configure, and it'll have the text say score so that they know what they're looking at. I think you have an extra S before the T on text. Yep, text is equal to score, and we're going to use the plus sign as a concatenation. And we're going to write score, but we want to show up as a string. So do you remember how we did string before parentheses colors in the line above? Yeah, so we're going to do the same thing here. So string parentheses color. Right before the score, you should just write STR. STR, and then open parentheses. Yeah, and then you can delete the space after the E in score. Yeah, there you go. Score. And so since we created the next color function, now we can update our comment here and call the function actually. If you scroll up to right under where we wrote countdown, yeah, so press enter and then backspace just once. So do you know how to call the next color function?
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you want to go ahead and type it out so that way we can call the function?
Excuse me?
You can go ahead and type out the command to call the function.
Okay.
Next color, and yeah, you don't need the S. Next color, and then open and close parentheses. Perfect. And then an enter space after that. Okay. And bigger. Okay, and we still have a call to countdown, but we haven't made that function yet. So we're gonna go and start a whole new function called countdown. Right underneath the end of next color. So right above the root equals tkinter. There. And how are you gonna write the header for the function? Do you want to go ahead and write the header? The name of the function is going to be called countdown. So we're going to define it by doing def and then countdown. Countdown, and then we need parentheses because we're starting the function. And then on the next line, we're going to have a global variable time left. Global time left. And similar to how we had the if statement in the previous function, we're also going to make if time left is greater than 0. It's greater than 0, and then, yeah, and then enter space. Okay. And so you know how we did plus equals 1 for score? and that added 1 to the score.
Yeah.
So we want, since the countdown function is going to be updating our time, we want to do the opposite thing with time left. So instead of increasing it by 1, we want to decrease it by 1. So instead of plus equals, what would we write instead of the plus if we wanted to go down by 1? We'd write a minus, right? Because it has to go down instead of go up. So minus equals 1. So it goes down by 1. Minus equals 1. And we want to do time label. And we're going to have that configured to say time remaining. And we're just updating that from when earlier we declared it to say time remaining is 50, I think, or 30. But now instead of always saying 30, it's going to say what the actual time left is. So it's going to be string time left. And time left would be 1 word. So you can take out the space between, yeah. And then you also have a semicolon after the quote. The semicolon has to go inside the quotation marks. So you can just have it right after the G. Perfect. Okay. And we bind the group, we start the main loop. Okay. And go ahead and try running it. Oh, did it get an error?
No. The label, the L.
Oh, you can take out the, 1 second. Time label, pack.
So what do
Label.pack. 1 second, I'm just taking a look at your code. Then we can just take out the label.pack.
The label dot.
Yeah.
Another one.
Let me go through your code and see.
Now this one.
Okay. Go ahead and add back the label.pack. And does yours run now?
Let me try. No.
Okay, let's see.
Label again.
Can you go up to where you do the imports?
Wait, what does that have to do with this?
I just want to make sure you have everything. Much time left? Can you scroll down just past the instructions label? Okay. Oh, after score label, you have to write score label dot pack. So, right under where it says press enter to start. Yeah. Don't delete that. The line below it. Yeah. And write score label dot pack. Score label dot pack. And parentheses open and close. And then press enter. Okay. Time label. Now try running it. No, still an error. Okay.
Same thing.
Maybe instead of label, we can call it label 1. So where it says label equals tk inner label, we'll just write label 1.
Label equals
The line above, so instead of label equals, we'll just say label 1 equals. And then press label 1 dot pack instead of label dot pack. So just add a 1 after the label. Oh no, not there. You can delete that one. And in the next line. Label 1 dot pack and then tk inner, and right where you write tk inner, so we would add dot label root, like here, what I wrote here. So go up, like just go up to the previous line. Where you say label 1 equals tkinter.
For some reason, I can't minimize my screen.
You can't move your mouse?
I can't minimize my screen.
Oh, try pressing the green button again.
It's not working.
Are you able to like move with the keyboard?
Um, keep on trying to minimize my screen. It's not working.
It's not working.
You know what? I guess it's okay.
Are you able to move it at all?
I'm able to move my mouse. That's it. I'm able
And you
to
can't type anything either?
type.
Okay, you can type. Okay. So maybe just move down with your mouse to where? So label 1. Just move with your mouse there and click on it.
Label what?
Um, yeah. It's a few more lines up.
1 second.
Mhm. Okay, are you able to get it to move there?
Mm-hmm.
So go to where it says label 1 equals tkinter. It's like,
Label 1 equals 2, 0.
yeah, keep going down.
Can't find it.
It's, yeah, right there. So go to the end of that line and just click on, or like use your keyboard to go to the very end of the line. Yep. And then add an add a dot label and make L capital. So dot label and parentheses root. So kind of what I wrote here. So open parentheses root comma. Oh, it's still inside the parentheses, yeah. Comma font equals and then open parentheses. And then in quotes Comic Sans MS. MS and then end quotes.
I can't see your screen because
Try splitting your.
yeah, it's because I can't do it.
Oh. Are you able to drag the edge? Oh.
Let me try. No.
No. Okay. Well. I guess maybe in the Finder or the tab above, are you able to minimize your screen anywhere? Like usually it'll say File or something. Or go into the window.
Saved it.
Oh no! Wait, don't do that. Just say cancel, and the green button doesn't change anything. Like when you press it.
Yeah. See, I'm pressing it.
Are you able to drag the top of your screen? Like if you click and hold, and you can drag the screen?
No, I can't. Wait. Oh, it's not. See, it's even say it. Not even minimize it.
It won't even let you minimize. Okay. If you hover at the bottom of your screen, does the Finder show up, like the little bar with all the apps?
No. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So click onto Google Chrome.
Oh no, not again.
Try pressing the escape character. Or like the escape button? Okay, I think that made it small. And then just take the window and drag it to the left side of the screen. Like click and hold and just drag that a bit. And then you can go ahead and open up the Python. Just click on the little idle at the bottom, the icon.
It's not doing anything.
Save file. Recent files. Oh, I think there was a place for you to open recent files and then color game.
And now the same issue.
Oh, it makes it the same. Okay. Press the escape button or like.
I am. So you can
It's
see
not
it kind of blinking a little bit.
One second, let me see. Go on the tab that says window, like up in the top.
Window.
There's a bar at the top that says Windows. Okay. Resize. And when do you want to pull down to zoom? Okay. And then click on zoom.
Yeah, it's not working. That's not working either.
It doesn't let you click it at all.
It lets me click it, but it just does nothing.
Try holding down the Option and Shift keys and dragging your screen.
Not working.
Like click and hold and try to move the mouse around.
Yeah, I'm doing that.
Oh.
Like even if I go, it's just like a mouse.
Oh, okay. Not sure what's happening then. I guess I'll just try to continue to like tell you the code as we type it, and I'll watch your screen.
What?
I think then I'll just try to like speak and tell you the code as I watch your screen.
What if I don't get it?
Maybe we can try going down to where you have label 1 equals tkinter.label.
Label.
Label 1, yeah. It's like 5 lines from the bottom. Yeah, right there. Oh, like 2 lines up. Yeah, so you wrote Comic Sans, and instead of NS, it should say MS.
Wait, what?
See in the quotes how you wrote Comic Sans? I think you wrote NS instead of MS.
Oh, it's MS?
Yeah, so everywhere else how it says MS, yeah, just make sure that this one also says MS. Okay. Okay. And try running the code.
Okay. What's this?
Okay, does it show you where the error is? Or like,
Let me go there. This.
okay. What? Oh, you need one more close parentheses. And after the MS, add a comma. Comma. Oh, I mean, after. Okay, wait. So delete the comma and delete the quotes after that. Yeah, and then just do a single quote and then comma. You can just type comma, yeah, and then 50. And now try it out. It says text box is not defined.
Okay. I'm gonna go back to my code now.
It's not letting you go back to your code? No. Try exiting out of the like terminal. Okay, and then scroll. And then click back into your code.
What do I do?
Back onto idle where you have the code. Okay. And scroll up. I have text box. Okay. One second, I'm just reading through your code. Text box. Oh, okay. So where you write if time left is greater than 0, do you see where you write that inside define next color? The line that says if time left is greater than 0.
If time left is greater than 0.
In the previous function where it says next color. Yeah, right there. So the line below that, it should say text box with no S.
Oh.
And then the same on the line afterwards. Try running it now.
Okay.
Oh no.
Sorry, my computer logged me out for some weird reason.
Oh yeah, no worries. Do you want to go ahead and share your screen?
Okay,
Okay. And can you open the Python text editor where you were writing the code?
the thing is I can't.
It doesn't even let you open it. Try right-clicking on the icon where you usually do. Oh yeah, where it said recent files. And color game, click on that. Okay. text box. Looks like it got lower. And keep scrolling down. Instructions label, okay. Score label. Time label. One. Text box. Where's that bind? Okay, so go back to the bottom of your code. Go to the bottom of your code. Okay. And right after label.pack, label1.pack, that line, it's like 5 lines from the bottom. Yeah, so after that, so just press enter after that line. Just rewrite what it had before. You can just press Command Z to undo that.
What did I do?
Okay, yeah. So then press enter after that line. And then enter, yeah. Pack. Write text box equals.
Text box.
Yeah, TEXT. Text box. Equals. tkinter.
What?
So, tkinter. So like the same thing that we would write earlier whenever it equals something. tkinter. Dot entry. And E is capital. Entry, and then in parentheses, root. And try running it now. Oh, wait, don't run it yet. So where you have root, it should be ROOT. Yeah, and then at the very top, just go backspace, yeah. Yay, so now it works. So you can press enter. Time label, that's fine. Are you able to type in anything or like press the enter space?
I'm not able to type.
It types, but it doesn't let you do anything, I see. Okay. Well, since we got that, at least that far, we'll work on debugging that last bit. But in the last 15 minutes, I wanted to have you fill out a form about like basic Python. I'm going to share it with you. It's just like something so we can see like how far you are or like if you needed help with anything. It's just a brief, it's only like 5 questions. I'm going to share it with you. And it just goes over like basic Python, like what it is, what the shell is, how to run it. And I just sent the form in the chat. Are you able to open it?
I am able. Wait, it's loading.
Uh-huh.
I am.
Okay. Are you able to see where it has you type in your name and then it has like 5 questions or 10 questions?
Yeah.
So, do you want to go ahead and just like take some time to fill that out? And if you have any questions on if you don't understand what one of them means, you can just go ahead and ask.
But I don't think you told me what idle stands for.
Oh, okay. Well, idle is basically an integrated, I'll just give you that one, integrated development environment. Um, it's where we it's where we've been running Python, or like where we've been typing all our stuff, our code for Python.
Okay. I don't think you didn't tell me most of these.
Mm,
Like what is an idle?
well, so what are all the things that we've been doing on there?
Uh, like in this code, I don't think we used idle.
Wait, could you repeat that? I didn't hear what you said.
A place you could type your code, maybe.
Uh-huh. And then we've been able to edit it too, right?
Yeah. Typing. I also
And
don't think you told me what does Python coding syntax mean.
so
You didn't tell me any of these.
well,
Except
it's kind of what we've been doing throughout most of the classes. We've been like the syntax, like it's just how whenever you get an error in syntax, it's usually something or like a word or uh, something that isn't correct in the format of how you've typed your code. So whenever we have syntax errors, it's usually like a missing comma or like
so it's
something that's wrong with what we typed.
format.
And then every time you see those three uh, like arrow signs for question 8, do you remember how every time when we run a code in Python and you're able to see those um, like every time you run something in Python? Usually what do we do when we see those three uh, triangles?
Ready to type for you to type a command.
I'm gonna let you decide what you think. And then are you on number 9?
Oh, I'm finished.
You're finished? Okay.
That's something. I got one thing wrong. It's problem number 8.
Problem 8. Okay. Um, does it show you what the correct answer was?
Oh yeah, I accidentally clicked the dialogue version instead of the prompt version. I mean, the thing is right, but instead of prompt, I did the dialogue.
Do you know what the difference between those two is?
Dialogue is like in a play, the dialogue of an actor could be, "Hi, my name is Cassandra." Prompt is like your prompt to do something.
So what the dialogue is, it temporarily like stops the program execution when there's either like when the computer itself has something to say, but prompt is when it's asking you for something. So like when it hasn't put anything out, but it's waiting for you to give it something to execute.
Oh, okay.
Does the difference between those two kind of make sense, or does that kind of make sense? Okay. So yeah, that's basically we're gonna be doing a few more of those quizzes every every class, and it'll just go over like the basics of Python. So this one was like how to use it basically, and other ones we'll go over is like how we use variables, or how do we create them, what's the difference between different variables. So it's just so that we stay refreshed on Python. Other ones will have stuff like how to use different operations or like if statements. So those are some of the topics that we'll kind of go over as we go through this.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have a few minutes left. Do you want to still go ahead and run the color game just so that I can see where we actually stop at?
Okay.
And could you share your screen?
1 second.
Mhm.
Done.
Okay. And press enter. Okay. Oof. Okay. Go ahead and close the. You can close that and then close that one as well. Let's see where we're missing out on. Start game. And if time left.
Okay.
Hmm?
Okay.
Oh, I'm just going through the code to see if there's an error that I didn't spot earlier.
Okay.
Instead of label.config, we want to have it say label1.config. It's inside the next color function.
The next color function, where?
It's like the second from the bottom line, like the second last line inside the function, where it says label.config,
I can't.
or inside the function, right before def countdown.
I can't see it.
It's two lines. Okay, so click on where you say def countdown. Like just click on that line and keep going up with your, go up one more. Like with your arrow button. The line right after that. Under random shuffle, it should say label.config. Yeah, so instead of label, it should say label1.config. Okay. And then config. Where after you wrote config, it should be FG, not FIG, inside the parentheses.
I just added that. I thought since.
Oh yeah, no, because FG stands for foreground. It's different than config.
Okay.
Time left. Config. Okay, so it looks like we have to add a bit of stuff for the countdown. So after the time remaining, see how it says time label.config text equals time remaining?
Yeah.
What you want to do is after the config, it should say text equals time remaining, not just time remaining. So like a few lines down inside the countdown function. Just like use your mouse or like the arrow buttons to keep pressing down so that you can go down a few more lines. Yeah, and then so right there where it said timelabel.config. There you go. There. Okay. So go inside the parentheses and say text equals time remaining, but don't have the text inside the quotes. So just go back once. Yeah, text equals time remaining. And then in the next line, just press enter after that line. Like go to the end of the line. Yeah. So where it says time left and then there's a bunch of parentheses, just press enter after that and you'll get to the next line. Go up twice. It should be above the root.
There.
Yeah, and then tab in a few times so that you're in line with it. Like in line with the if. Oh, just go back once. Go back one more time. Like press the backspace once. And then say else, because this is an if-else statement. And then else, and then put a colon. And enter space. So instead of saying time remaining, we want to update the text to say game over. So
Else game over, maybe?
we would do timelabel.config and then we would say instead of text time remaining, we would have text equal to game over.
What?
Hold on. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. I can see your screen.
Oh, okay. So right here, instead of saying timelabel.config text equals time remaining, we're going to have the text say game over instead. So you can just copy what you had, the time label text remaining, just copy that entire line and paste it into the else.
Text.
Time label, the line right above.
Wait, I can't find my
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Just copy it. You don't have to delete it.
I was by accident.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then paste it. And instead of saying text and all of that, just have it say text equals game over.
Wait. Wait, I don't. So wait, does it go here or just underneath this?
No, that is where it goes. That was the right place. Just delete at the end of your string how it says string time left. We don't need to have that in this one. Yeah, and then you can delete the extra parentheses and the plus sign.
Okay.
Oh, and you delete the plus sign.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And then instead of time remaining, so if the time left is greater than 0, we want it to keep counting down. but in the else statement, that's if it is 0. So when the timer is at 0, the game would be over, right?
Yes.
Right? So we would have it say game over instead of how much time is left.
How much time is there?
Yeah, we'll just say game over. Oh no, instead of saying how much time, you just write game over, because the game would be over when it gets to 0. Okay. And try running it. Okay, and press enter. Oh. It looks like you still have an issue with the time label. So next time we'll probably continue debugging that part. Yeah, you can just click out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so just make sure you save your file before you close it though.
Okay, done.
Okay, cool.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi.
Thank you, Dimitra.
Yeah, of course.